Hey guys, Pat from Pat's Brewery, and we're back in the brewery today. For a busy old day, for a brew day, a kegging day, a cleaning day, an everything day. Let's go. So, what is it that we are brewing? We are brewing a Hefeweizen, named Hereweizen. So, reason for the name is that I use text to speech on my phone, and that is the closest thing that it is able to actually understand and put it out there as. So thought that's close enough. The grain bill is really quite simple. So we used the Malt Miller recipe builder again. I know that maybe I need to start buying some of my grains in bulk, but when you're doing a whole variety of beers in a short space of time, I do find that getting them already measured out for you does make life a little bit easier. So in this one we have 2,500 grams of Bohemian floor malted Pilsner, and we have 2,400 grams of pale wheat malt, and we also have 150 grams of Carapils. Carapils just there for a little bit of head retention. I looked at a few recipes and the grain bills were more complicated, but actually the ones that people have said that actually work the best have been the ones that are really simple, and it's the ones where you let kind of the simplicity shine through effectively. So that's the theory. We'll see. I think there's going to be nowhere to hide with this beer if I do screw it up. So we'll see. We'll see. Right, let's get the grains in. Okay, so we have now mashed in. We were mashing in at 72 degrees C. For an expected drop down to 65, but I didn't think that because it was so hot that maybe the mash tun temperature would actually be warmer, and yeah, we was actually hitting close to 67, 68, so I've had to throw in some cold water as well. It's quite a wet mash today. I've seen some suggestions of a slightly wetter mash can help with efficiencies and bits and pieces. So we did have about 22 and a bit litres in there before adding in the cold. So actually it's a very wet mash, so very unlikely that the sparge will be that much. I have to recalculate. It's only going to be something like a 7 or 8 litre sparge anyway, so we'll see. Yeah, we'll see how it all goes, and yep, still sweating my arse off. We've got some kegs to clean while the mash is going on. Should probably look to keg as well, so I'll get that set up. Maybe I'll get some footage of that for you. So when kegging the Red Force, I'll admit it looks a little bit brown there, but I swear it does have a red hue in the glass. You've got it on a closed circuit coming in, and then the gas just popping back around to the top. Normally it works pretty well, although it can be a little bit slow, but you see it's already dropping just a touch, so we should be good. So we got our first keg on the keg washer. Let that run for about 5-10 minutes, then we'll change on to the next keg. The kegs are all washed, which is good news. Transfer still going. Mash has about 5, maybe 10 minutes left. We've got one more thing to clean. Let's have a look. These 2 cooling coils from a maxi chiller, both of them 8 meters in length. Got some gunk on there. So yeah, we're going to give those a clean. Now you may be asking, Pat, what are you going to be using those for? That will be revealed in a future video. And ladies and gentlemen, the reason why I still class myself as a very much an amateur home brewer, because once again the valve was left open. 60th edition, 10 grams of Perle, or Perle. So, as you may have just seen, we have finished our sparge and just started to boil. Here's a little sample. So that is definitely a white beer, which is the whole purpose of this beer, that this was going to be my kind of lightest of possible beers. I don't think we can get any lighter than that, in all honesty. With regards to gravity, obviously we had that spillage, so I think we did lose some vital points there. I was looking for a pre-boil gravity of 1046. Last reading I took was 1040. Now it may be that, you know, I've just sampled a bit that's a little bit light, but I think it might be something that we just have to accept, that we've hitting a little bit short on points today. Oh well, the colour is the main thing on this. Looks great. 10-minute boil edition, Saaz 10 grams. So the boil is over. We are dropping it down to 80 degrees at the moment. Just taken another sample. A little bit cloudy. Might want to go see the doctors. Terrible. But see that again, still incredibly pale. So really good. Regarding the gravity, got a reading of 1047, 1048, which was meant to be at about 1051. So yeah, I boiled off a little bit more than, well, about an extra litre than I was going to, just to try and get those extra points up from what we missed earlier. But you know, the volume was one of the more important things for us in this. So yeah, it is what it is. Now let's see if we can get this cool down done. Now our aroma: 30 grams of Saaz, 10 grams of Perle. So while we're transferring, technically not a Hefeweizen yeast, it's a wit yeast, but I wanted to use dry yeasts on this one as much as possible, so this is what I was able to get hold of. We're going to be using both packs. To me, doing both covers us for any mishaps like we had the other week, where we sprinkled a load of the yeast over the actual cooling coils rather than getting into the wort. So our Hefeweizen beer turned out pretty well from regards to its final gravity. It finished up giving us a ABV of about 5.3 and 13 IBUs. So the IBUs was one higher than planned, but that's not the end of the world. So let's have ourselves a pour. So very small head on this one, but other than a little bit of a small head, that is pretty much the exact colour that I was expecting for our wheat beer. Let's bring it up close to you. Now, obviously not a clear beer, but my experience, wheat beers never are, so I'm not looking for any sort of real clarity. But what I will say is that the actual colour is the very light colour that I was going for. With regards to the nose, it is releasing those kind of banana-y esters, the kind of coriander esters that you want from a Hefeweizen. Now, something I would say is that obviously I keep on calling it a Hefeweizen, but technically I used a wheat beer dry yeast. My understanding of the difference is a little bit regional, probably insulting some people there, but also often in wheat beers you would be adding in things like coriander and orange bitters and bits and pieces to the fermentation to get some of those flavours and aromas. So by not doing that, I think it's closer to a Hefeweizen. I just didn't want to use any proper wet yeast for liquid yeast, so I was able to get some wheat beer yeast. And so it's kind of maybe a class as a hybrid, but we'll keep on calling it a Hefeweizen, you know, for the purpose of consistency. So, what are we getting? We are 100% getting those ester-based flavours. I think more leaning on the coriander side, or herbal and spice. Obviously the hops that we used on this was Saaz and Perle, so I think that's also adding to it. With regards to some of the other flavours, I mean, with some of the other beers which have sat around this 5% mark, I think a lot of the flavours kind of, and some of the residual sweetness, especially, you know, if we talk about like the Belgian blonde that we've got on tap, that kind of, it doesn't hide the alcohol, but, excuse me, it kind of aids it, it balances it. It's kind of a little bit of an overall drink. It's, you know, the alcohol is part of it. There is part of me that kind of feels that, although this is sitting at about 5.3%, as you're drinking this, you are tasting that 5.3%. I'm not going to say that's a bad thing. It's not necessarily a good thing either, but you know, all of these things have their place. Some people really like that, some obviously don't. Overall, I am happy with this. I think I've tried to do wheat beers a couple of times in the past, and it's not actually been a proper wheat beer. This, I think, is going to be to a level in line with the actual standards, if you followed like the guidelines. Whether or not I think that this is going to be a fan favourite, maybe not. But even if it's going to be one of my favourites, maybe. I don't know. I think it's got its place, but whether or not it's at the top of the top of the list of beers to drink. Not sure. It's an interesting one. This is literally the first time I've poured myself a full pint of it. I've had a couple of samples and kind of got that initial flavourings and smell, which, you know, able to kind of call out. But drinking it as a beer, I can't go. It's definitely not a session drinker for me. I think I could have maybe 2 in a row. There's no way I think I'd be wanting to be on that all night. I think, I mean, let's talk a little bit about what else is in here carbonation wise. So it's been carbonating for a couple of weeks now. Yeah, I think it's at a pretty good level. I say we didn't get a massive head on it, but that being said, the small head that we did get has kind of stuck around with us. It's kind of, you know, we only had a couple of mils of head anyway, and that's what we've continued to have. I mean, there's always the give it a bit of a shake and see if we can generate any more, and yeah, it's still there, it's reactivating. The colour, sorry, not the clarity, no clarity there. The colour, excuse me, is really what I'm most impressed with. It 100% covers the white beer criteria that we was going for with this. So I do think that we are going to be hitting our colour palettes for the Packtoberfest colour range with regards to our white, our blonde, our orange, our red, brown and then black. Obviously the ones that we've got left to do or you know have full videos for is the New England IPA, which is our orange, and our mild, which is covering the brown. And yeah, I think everything so far is pretty much hitting the colours that we're after. The only one that a little bit in question being the red, but it is a red, and it's definitely not as dark as the mild will be. So you know what, I think this is really kind of, we've got our start and our end nailed, and the bits in the middle also coming across quite nicely. It's good. It is good. It's growing on me more as I'm drinking it. But thinking back to some of my previous videos, you can tell how this one's not going down quite as easy as, say, like the stout, which I think I've pretty much knocked back. This one is definitely a sip, appreciate, don't rush it. So that's just what I'm going to do. I'm not going to rush this. I'm going to take this indoors, watch a bit of telly. So, with regards to the name of this one, I think I may have mentioned it on the Brewday footage. This one is being called the Hefeweizen, all thanks to a text-to-speech issue with the phone, not understanding Hefeweizen. Currently no label for this one, so I will have to share with you that on another time. But until next time guys, I've been Pat from Pat's Brewery, drinking the Hereweizen Hefeweizen. Cheers. So, our Hefeweizen beer, let's